Let's go ahead and also order this meeting of the Executive Committee of the Waste Reduction District of Monroe County. Mr. McGlasson, could you please call the roll?
Iman Smith,
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Wills,
Here.
all are present.
All right. So we have approval of Executive Committee meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
We approve the minutes as presented, as edited. Corrections as corrected.
Any other comments? You got the corrections?
I corrected version for signature, yes.
All right, all of those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, review of Board of Director meeting minutes to be sent to the board. Any comments there?
Iman Smith also sent some corrections on those that revised for the board packet, unless there's any other changes.
Yeah. Goes forward,
There's
is that what we're doing?
It's just a consensus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Moving forward.
Okay.
Unless there's any objections, they find them on the agenda.
kind of, yes.
I didn't know thoughts on that. I put it in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been, have time to look at it.
Okay. Ask if you got it.
I do that.
Okay, so then we'll move on to amending the district's approved vendor list. Tom, you want to?
Yeah, this is something that we do from time to time, for municipal benefit. If you're not aware, we do have a list of approved vendors that we do regular business with, whether it be contractual obligations, utilities, that we make regular payments to. So to expedite those payments, we have a list of these approved vendors that board can approve. Either they've paid under the resolution where they're automatically pre-approved between board meetings, or the board via email can review and approve claims for those select vendors, with everything being brought back to the board for formal review and approval at the next board meeting. So from time to time, we have to update the list because our vendors change. Vendors get bought, merged, closed, and we have to change names and so forth. So the memo on page 7 of the packet gives you a list of the vendors that we're adding, with the reasons why, and vendors that are requesting to remove, and the reasons why.
Okay, any questions on that one?
So for instance, on, I think it's page 10 and 11 that have the list, that's the new list.
That is the list attached to the resolution, which is the revised list.
Okay. And I see that, I get it now, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll vote on that at the next board meeting. Next, we have the lease agreement with Monroe County Board of Commissioners for the Purdue Extension Services.
Yeah, just apologize to the committee, to our board, as well as I did with the commissioner's office. We're a little delinquent in this. It does actually, the current lease term is actually up at the end of this month. There's a clause in the lease that will basically go to month until a new lease agreement is entered into. And talking with the staff, and Audie in particular with Purdue Extension Services, they seem happy with the arrangement. The district is happy with the arrangement. No interest not to continue. with the lease agreement. You can see what's in this revision, what I put into this revision, which has been provided to the Commissioner's Office and County Legal, updated our name. The term was modified so that it's again an initial 3-year term, but after that, there are just an indefinite automatic 1-year renewals. So we don't have to do this again in 5 or 6 years like we're doing now, until one party provides a 30-day notice that they're opting out. Did ask for a $50 monthly increase for the payment that goes towards utilities, housekeeping, lawn maintenance, and so forth. And then there was a new section added, really just clarifies the payment terms that we invoice quarterly. The county pays that within 30 days, which historically has never been a problem. Reduce that to writing. At this point, I have not gotten any comments, requested changes back from the Commissioner's Office. So I'm not sure. Without having that, I don't really want to go to the board until we know that the county is on board with the terms that are in here. But again, if it's not something that happens this month, just kind of under the current terms, it goes to a month-to-month arrangement under the current terms. It's just quarterly payments and $650 a month toward utilities stuff.
So is there,
Go ahead. We're a little looser here in these executive committee meetings.
is it conceivable that you'll get feedback before the board meeting?
It's conceivable. I have no idea. I would have to check with Angie in the Commissioner's Office about scheduling timing of when this might actually go to the commissioners. And I don't know that the commissioners would make a decision until their legal that offer an opinion on it. I'm not sure where that stands.
Okay.
So the resolution for us to approve says the waste reduction district will transfer to Monroe County the real property identified. So that doesn't sound like lease to me.
That's the language. This will be the third lease renewal we've done, and that is the language out straight out of the other two resolutions.
Can you check that with our legal advisor? Because that transfer of property, that's not what a lease is.
No. Use. By use of. So, and that, again, the committee and other board's decision, we don't know whether or not we want to act on this next week. Yeah, but there's not going to be any consequences to not acting on it to either party, to the extension services or to the district. All happy and moving right along.
Should wait till the commissioners.
Fine.
I had a couple other questions in the actual language of the lease agreement. Under term lease, page 15, it says shall begin the first day of April 2025 and terminate on the 30th day of March 2025. It should be 31st day of March 2026.
March has 31 days, and actually should be 2028.
Yeah, I'd say it's multiple years. Not today.
Because the initial term is a 3-year, was supposed to be a 3-year term. I mean, for the purpose of the way that it's written, it doesn't matter. That initial term is 1, 2, or 3 years.
It just makes sense to make it 3 years, but if we don't have any plans to move somewhere, I don't see the the concern with doing a longer lease, we don't have to do this every year.
So it's gonna auto renew though, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Take that language so that it automatically renews until somebody says, I don't want to.
Well, either way, that
Yeah.
needs to be changed.
Yes.
Okay.
Then, the next page under use, there's just a typo here. It says, okay, the second paragraph, conference educational room, blah, blah, blah. And to the extensions, shall be available for the functions of staff of the district and to the extension services to reserve for each's exclusive use. It ain't a word.
You could say
For each and body's exclusive use.
or the exclusive use of each.
Yeah,
Exclusive each.
Still happy with the delineation of shelving and whatnot that's really operating.
Yeah, that's,
Still the same, isn't it?
that is still the same. I guess I would note, for page 21 of the packet, the layout of the building. Off the conference education room, at the top where it says closet, kitchen, utility. That originally was closet, bathroom, kitchen, utility closet. That we took that bathroom out, it's no longer used, and we just took the wall down and extended that closet. So, and that's, and extension services uses that closet, although we have that closet specifically is not addressed in the lease. That's worked fine. And well, with all the new tables and chairs that we bought, we're actually talking with them, and there's some agreement. We're probably going to use what was that old original bathroom space as storage for the tables and chairs. But again, those are things that, little things like that have happened throughout the time that they've been there, and everything's worked out.
good. Nice, that seems to be a peaceful coexistence.
It's always reaching.
Yes. Now I was a little confused about the cabinet stuff. So back on page 16, right above number 4, that sentence says, lessee's determination that any of these cabinets or shelves instead be used to store the district's financial records and or educational program materials and provide an IP address from its vendor and access as needed to the necessary equipment to install phones. I just don't, what does that mean? I don't understand.
So there are in our central equipment room or copy room, there's built-in cabinets and drawers. So they get 4 of the built-in cabinets in that central copy room. They get 4 36-inch built-in cabinets that are in the education room. And I can recall our library, the conference room, 2 walls. They get just shy of 1 full wall, 6-foot section for that. And then we just have, 1 internet cable line coming into the building. Was in existence when they got there. And we just worked out with a service provider that extension services could use that internet service, have a dedicated network. It's basically split it into that, running off the same day.
But so this is, I interpret this as saying, so they can use, so the Purdue extension can use those cabinets and bookshelves subject to their own determination, they are the lessee, that any of the cabinets be used instead to store the district's financial records. So why would they determine that the district needs that space for something else?
That should be less or. That didn't change. That was in the last agreement, but can, maybe we can make that change. I don't anticipate, it hasn't been a problem to this point. I mean, basically what that does, it gives us, you know, the right to say, we have financial records that we can't have to keep and taking this cabinet over, but
Yeah, no, I think it's good to have that option if you need it.
But, yeah, but with, to recall, records retention project that we did, last fall, we heard lots of stuff through that, and we now have a system in place, and so I don't anticipate that we would ever, we haven't had to do it yet, and now we have a system in place to regularly purge the documents as they expire in the retention, that we can destroy them, digitize them, what have you. So we're having the less stuff we have to process.
It's good. You know, we don't, I remember when I first started on the board, there was a storage space, like a storage unit that was used for some of the educational stuff. Does that, do we still use that? or not?
Yeah, that's, we 2 or 3 years ago, we purchased, well, I think it was the previous, just 2 or 3 years ago, we purchased what is in essence is an outdoor, a yard shed. It's back there behind the recycling center, next to the pack vans and the storage units we use for electronics and stuff. We put it under shipment. We have a lot of historical landfill documents that we can't destroy, get rid of in there, as well as the education materials. Things that are going to be impacted by climate, climate control structure.
It's dry. Okay, yeah, I'm referring, I thought, you know, previous to that, we actually rented, you know.
Oh, yeah, I'm
storage
sorry.
or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, prior to buying that unit, we did lease an offsite storage unit. Getting expensive and less than a year's rent on that space. We bought a shed. Okay.
So what, Tom, you mentioned that an escalator clause. So under utilities and housekeeping, so this is actually where they pay us for the upkeep, right?
But you walked in the middle of the conversation. That's for one of our leases for our sites.
Oh, okay. So under number 10, utilities and housekeeping, lessee agrees to pay $700 per month. Can that be increased as we renew the lease? I mean, everything gets more expensive.
You know, when I was drawing this up and we did the automatic renewal clause, that crossed my mind. And if, I mean, if we want, you know, obviously the district would not object to any escalated clause in there, that if the county would be agreeable to that. You know, the other option is that you have to negotiate an amended lease if our usage goes up or rates go up. We feel that there's a need for them to contribute.
So what do you all think about that? It's okay to just leave it a flat rate?
Yes, leave a flat rate. What happens after that?
Well,
If you know, because I don't know how else Purdue would accept information.
I mean, I guess if we did an escalator clause, it's like,
You have to be very
based on,
specific.
right, based on the cost of living or based on.
I mean, it's,
could we not do an escalate? I mean, my understanding is that would be an automatic like we would,
The 700.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then automatically it would increase with each year.
5%, 10%, whatever.
If we have an escalator.
If we have.
Right, so what, could we not put something in here, and it might already be, but I don't see it, but something specific to an increase being requested by the lessor with, in a certain amount of notice prior to the auto renew, then it would open it for consideration.
I would just take it to legal and see how they want to do it, because it's not ever that simple in the lease. Because that is not a, you know what I'm saying, because then you'd have to start giving bills.
So, and if this, I agree, because this is getting more, this isn't just a land lease. This is related to costs of them occupying the building that we pay. Rates don't go up every year. Usage will go up and down for a variety of factors. But I honestly, I think that it's probably a simpler solution to, if something happens and our costs increase, we just go back to the county request that we amend the agreement to increase that payment by X dollars. And then, if the need arose to do that, we would have, the documentation, justification for that request based on rate hike from the utility company, historical billing cycles that show you.
So that makes sense. However, right now it's increasing by $50 and we haven't provided all of that, or I haven't.
No,
And that's fine.
we haven't. It's just, it's the $650, the previous amount has been in place for 6 years. Change.
Feel like that would be the same sort of considerations. It's been 10
Well,
years. Let's up it by,
I mean, and I'll be honest, no, I did not sit back and look over 5 years of utility bills and say, oh, my God, that's I just thought, costs are going up. Just a rate, I thought it was a reasonable request.
Yeah.
If our board doesn't like it, or if the county balks at that, it doesn't, we can go back to the 60.
Well, if the county bonds at it, I think we should look at what it's actually costing us and say, okay, well, what about $680, what actually reflects our costs.
We can do that. I mean, there's certainly time. I mean, we kind of already decided that it's probably not going to be ready to go to the court next week. We're still waiting for feedback from the county on the proposal. So there's time to pull that in.
Just assuming that it's half and half, so let me scope the rest of that out, but if they use 3/4 of it.
is it half and half? Is that?
I mean, there's
Well,
a lot of assumptions already, is what my point is.
They have half the building in essence.
Yeah.
One office less than half.
But they have more evening programs, so they probably have more.
They do more stuff in the evening with the education room in the library.
Being facetious, I don't
No,
think.
but they do, and I don't know that there's any way.
The Board of Commissioners, they're the ones who would approve just
I don't.
there's my random $50 increase instead of,
I can't imagine what it would take to look at all of that and break down that it's 60% this entity and 40% that.
yeah,
That's.
yeah, I understand it's imperfect. So I would say it's fine to leave it this way, but with the knowledge that, in 5 more years, we should
I will.
look at the numbers and
I will
ask for an
say that
increase maybe.
the original lease agreement actually did call for half. Yeah. District had to calculate that each quarter and submit the invoice. And so we did the most recent renewal. I believe it was the county attorney's office that actually, why don't we just make it a flat rate?
Yeah, and I can see that being an advantage. But I just would think it would, so putting myself in the lessor's shoes here,
Sure.
which, well, yeah. I think it would be wise to just put something in that says that acknowledges the potential for that increase and, you know. So,
I can ask legal about that and that language might look like and we can certainly look at that.
I also, this is not my area of expertise,
Not mine.
so that's just what I would feel comfortable with, I think.
Yeah, why don't you check with legal counsel to see if it's wise to just put in there that this amount, maybe you can negotiate it based on costs.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Any other questions, concerns?
I have one other. I've got a staff member that has raised the issue that for a lot of their events, the extension service uses disposable flatware plates and cups. Kind of contrary to what we do. And that we do have flatware, plates and bowls and dishwashers.
You have a full-on dishwasher?
Huh?
You have all of that and a dishwasher on location?
A dishwasher, $7.50 an hour. No, yeah, we
You have
do.
a machine?
We have a kitchen dishwasher.
There's no reason to use this.
Yeah. So what was asked was if some requirement could be built into the lease, which I was think it would be better to approach them first and try to work out some sort of compromise agreement with the
Do they
extension.
know that they're welcome to use these items?
I would assume so, but I don't know. I've never specifically discussed that.
I think it's best to not put it in the lease, but just have a conversation. I'm sure they'll understand.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a lease worthy thing, but yeah, just a conversation, why it's important.
I agree, but I was asked to make that request.
It's a good point.
Well, no, I don't disagree at all.
It's very good.
You know, particularly when, we have our own programs going on in these same rooms. I mean, you're showing our recycling setup and trash cans for plates.
Last couple of readings, worse.
So,
Funny.
okay, well, we will have that discussion with their staff. See.
Comments or concerns about the lease agreement? So we probably won't see this next week.
No, I will,
So you can give us an update at our next executive convention.
well, no, I think there's enough up in the air with the utilities costs. Even if I got an answer back by the end of the week, county legal on the commissioner's office. I think that's,
Well, and we ask you to inquire about two other things.
yeah, so. I think it would be best just to put it off for another month, like I said, no harm, no foul to either entity, because it just goes to month to month. So somebody leaves or a new agreement's in it.
Are we ready to move on to the accounts payable issue? So we have a report on some corrections
Oh, yes.
on accounts
Yeah,
payable.
this is what Goins was referring to last month, and it was requested that it be brought for review and possibly forward to it.
Teresa, do you have anything to add about this list that we have in front of us?
It just, it'll show you the reclass of the receipting items, receipt adjustments and the claim adjustments. You can see there's the total at the end, it's $0. Again, we're just reclassing to the correct account or fund number. Most of it is the payroll clearing items that is on there.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of these have to do with differences between Lau and Harris, and how they manage those payroll withholdings for insurance and taxes, how the system tracks that and accounts for that. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
So it looks like we have 2 or 3 bundles of transactions here. What are the categories? So like on the first 2 pages, we have 36 items. And then the next group, we have 69 items. Are those separate accounts, or I couldn't understand what the difference is between those 2 sets.
36 items is the receipt adjustments. And then the other 69 items are the claim adjustment. That last page was put in there in a burn that shouldn't be in there. That's just some of the other adjustments we were doing for 2025.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yeah, that last sheet shouldn't have been standing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Receipt adjustments are monies coming in that were not put in the right place. And then the claim adjustments was money going out that was not reconciled to the right category. Is that right?
That's my understanding. It's not like receipts need to match claims. These are totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
The claims is like when we're paying something.
Right. And Harris actually in essence had a department set up. It's like, we have our administration department, our recycling department, our compliance department, had a department set up that acted as a paper clearing house. Holdings and then Lau had this, I don't like this because the term's misleading to me, but that Lau actually has a different fund set up. Now, it's not a fund like our operating fund and the debt service fund, but in that system, it's a different fund that all of the payroll clearing gets funneled through. And when we did the initial conversion, staff kept Lau, because that department existed, they created a location department 7 in the system. And staff continued to use that as the payroll clearing, but the system wasn't set up to work that way. So what's happened now is we've taken all the stuff that wound up going into location 7 and reclassify, either receipting it in or reclassifying it for disbursement out of the appropriate funds that Lau uses to handle the payroll clearing. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's how I understood it.
So the location, it looks like it goes from 0007 to 0000. Is that right?
So 007 was the payroll clearing for Harris. So they, from what Lyle had explained, that it needs to go into the 00 is just for the payroll clearing pieces. So the 1,000 is considered like the employer, the 5,100 is considered the employee, and then the 6,100 is basically the receiving of the insurance, health insurance only, not all of those other individual items that employees pay, like the flex spending or the identity theft.
The benefits that would be 100% employee funded, not included in that. Right? Teresa,
Should be, because they're paying in and you're paying it back out. But the
Well,
employee
yeah,
has
no, you're
X
right, yeah.
service, right?
We
They're paying it in their
we
payroll.
withhold it, we receipt that in somewhere, and then
And
it's
then you have
got
to pay it
to, and
somewhere.
it's got to go out somewhere, yeah.
Of note, there are what appear to be negative receipts.
That's the adjustment, I would assume.
Teresa, what are the negative amounts that are reflected in the dockets?
The negative is where we're clearing it out of the one and putting, and then the positive is putting it into the other or into the correct location.
So the negative indicates the debit transaction, and then that same amount is credited in to the other fund. It's dispersed.
Unfortunately, they don't fall right next to each other on all of them. It would be nice if they did, so you can see it's a negative out and then a positive back in. But it doesn't fall that correctly on me.
Between the negatives and the positives, it's zero.
Is there any easy way to download this into Excel by any chance?
Yes,
Then we could do the math ourselves. Without having to, think through it. If that's not too difficult, that would be great, Teresa.
yeah, we can do that.
For
It's
future,
not hard to do it in Excel and then sort it together, so it shows the negative and the positive next to each other. Is that what you're asking?
Well, if I had like this whole chart of receipt adjustments in Excel, then I could do a quick sum at the bottom to confirm that it is indeed zero. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah,
We're not gonna have to do these adjustments again now that we're in Lao, correct? This was
correct.
because.
That's the whole purpose, is to get us on the correct track.
Yep. So we shouldn't have to do.
okay, so this is the end of it.
We shouldn't see the 0007 anymore unless if it got entered incorrectly or if it was like on a AP voucher form and it didn't get changed and somebody enters it that's not aware. That would be the only reason we would have to do the reclass of it if for that. But
And I would also, on page 36, you can look at that's the end of the 69 item docket, and at the bottom there it does show 69 items 0.00.
So with these adjustments have been made, and so our year-end financial record keeping is now completed, or are you still working on some reporting?
I had an all other item.
So are there any other questions about the reclassification sheets?
Is this something that you want in the board packet?
I think the board should vote on this because it is an accounting correction. But that's me.
Yeah, that's fine.
You want it as an action item on the agenda?
Yeah.
Just
Motion to approve.
approving the
Corrections.
documentation and corrections, whatever, okay.
I would just feel more comfortable. I don't think this is something to do, right, Kate, in county government without some sort of acknowledgement at a public meeting.
I mean, the yeah, acknowledge it, like I said.
I don't think so.
An action agenda item for the approval
Adjustments to the claims.
of claim adjustments.
Well,
Claim and receipt adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we come to the agenda item, all other items deemed appropriate for discussion. You had at least one.
Well, yeah, kind of related to what we were just talking about. So just, we did not get our annual financial report submitted yesterday as it when it was due. It was the due date, partially because we were still, I guess, wrapping our head around all of this and
is this the report to the Department of Local Government Finance?
this was SBOA.
Okay.
This is the
State Board of Accounts.
State Board of Accounts. State Board of Accounts is aware.
Okay.
Emailed them yesterday and said, you know, we have a delay and, you know, doing all of this, you know, required re-reconciling, our receipt numbers and our disbursement numbers change. Teresa and I spent a lot of time on that today, and I think we've got a grasp on where we need to go and to get that submitted tomorrow or following day and published as required.
Is there any penalty for being late?
I don't, if we're getting it done in a couple of days, the response I got back from SBOA did not indicate there would be any penalties, they,
Might be an audit.
yeah, they did say, when I first contacted them, I asked if we get extension, if the statute doesn't allow for such a thing. They just said, I'm getting to it and prompt attention and submit it as soon as you can. I think that we made them aware of it, and I think that if we get it done here in the next day or so, scrutinize us a little bit, but I think that we can get penalty.
Is that the only entity that requires the annual financial reports?
No, DLGF, well, for solid waste districts, DLGF has what's called the SB 131, which we did get submitted in time, but there is some financial data in there, and I've already notified them that we're going to have to submit a revised one because what we're dealing with here is going to change some of the numbers that were submitted at SB 131.
It's okay, there's a way to do that.
I believe so. They had, when the audit that was done last fall, they had us go in and revise the annual financial reports for the years that were being audited. So, the way to do it, you just have to they just have to allow you access. They have to re-put it out to be revised and resubmitted.
Okay, well, hopefully you can get that all done soon. You load off everybody's mind.
Yes. I have one other, unless you were going to talk about it. So, okay. We previously talked, the CAC had been working with Caldwell Incorporated about their food waste facility they have outside of Shelbyville. And the CAC has been able to schedule a tour of that facility for March 12th. I wasn't clear, they said 9 a.m. I wasn't clear if that was when we were supposed to be there or if that's when we were leaving Bloomington to go up there. But anyway, I did want to
March 12th?
March 12th. That's what Matt said, right?
Okay, I know, I'm,
He just sent the email out, yeah, March 12th at 9 a.m. But
I would assume that's when you're supposed to be there.
Huh?
I would assume that's when you're
I
supposed to be
think
there.
so.
I don't think he's gonna try to calculate what time we leave.
But I did want to just, my recollection was that there was some interest expressed in that and if anybody wished to attend that, we can make that happen.
yeah, I wanted to go.
Clarify with Matt that that is the time that we are supposed to be at the facility and figure out where we're going to meet and who's driving and what time we're leaving.
Just bring you the coffee.
I will let you know.
So I will look forward to hearing all about it.
Okay. Any other items for the good of the order?
Serial management data Excel spreadsheet in the Dropbox for today. I have 100 questions about it, but if we are gonna wait and talk about it later, that'd be great.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I didn't put a spreadsheet in there.
Under the 3/4/25 meeting.
I went to a different. Oh, it's a different folder on me. So most of it's moved because we did not. So it's moved. We're moving forward. Yeah, I was in the wrong folder.
Something you want to discuss?
No,
Link to-
no, my questions were like, why are we looking at this? Because, it seems like a good point. Well, not important.
Any other issues, questions, comments? Not jokes?
I did want to say that we would like to start completing like AP claims weekly, just so we're getting them out timely. I know we would do them bi-weekly and it towards the end of the year, it got off our schedule with the week of the board meetings. So that's, we feel better if we can start doing those weekly. You would just see a weekly approval email for the board items, and then any, of course, new vendors we would wait and bring to the board meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So we would just watch for your email on a Wednesday?
It would still, yeah, the emails would still be out on Wednesday when we complete the AP. We always do the AP on Wednesday.
Coming weekly instead of bi-weekly.
Okay,
Also announce that at the board meeting next week, so the full board goes to let.
it used to be weekly?
Not that I can ever recall.
Okay.
As far as this,
It doesn't seem like they care.
as far as I'm concerned, that's controller's preference. You know,
That's fine. There are fewer to look at at one time, so.
Well, there'd be payroll every other week.
And yeah, we did payroll every other week, and I don't know why they decided to pay claims and do payroll the same week. But that was the system put in place a long time ago.
Well, if there's nothing else. Adjourn. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's next Wednesday, the 12th.